This course is a companion to the book The Project Brain: Evolving Project Managers, available on Amazon. If you find today's session valuable, the book goes deeper on every framework you are about to learn, including the 3-tier document system, the janitor protocol, synthetic stakeholder simulations, and the full blueprint for an artificial intelligence-powered project management office you can run from your own desktop. You can find it by searching for The Project Brain by Self-Made PM on Amazon, or by visiting selfmadepm.com. Now let us begin the course. 1. Welcome to this 2-hour professional development session on the anatomy of project failure. The statistics on project failure are uncomfortable. Industry research consistently shows that roughly 70% of projects fail to meet their original objectives for scope, schedule, or budget, and about 1 in 6 experiences a cost overrun of 200% or more. These numbers have barely improved in decades. The reason is that most failures repeat the same 5 root causes, and understanding those causes is the most valuable investment a project manager can make. This course is eligible for 2 self-reported professional development units, abbreviated PDU, with the Project Management Institute, abbreviated PMI, under the online or digital media category. It maps to the business acumen edge of the PMI talent triangle, because understanding failure is fundamentally a business judgment skill. Let us begin. 2. By the end of this session, you will be able to do 3 things. First, you will be able to define project failure honestly, beyond the narrow lens of schedule and budget, to include business value, stakeholder satisfaction, and team health. Second, you will be able to recognize and diagnose the 5 recurring root causes, which are unclear requirements, poor stakeholder engagement, inadequate risk management, unrealistic estimates, and skipped closure. Third, you will be able to recognize the warning signs of impending failure, intervene early, and have the professional judgment to recommend a controlled shutdown when a project no longer justifies continued investment. 3. Here's how we will spend our 2 hours together. Part 1 defines failure honestly and examines why industry failure rates have not improved. Part 2 walks through the 5 root causes one by one, with diagnosis and preventive practice for each. Part 3 covers early warning signs, intervention techniques, and the professional discipline of recommending a shutdown when appropriate. At the end, I will walk you through exactly how to claim your PDUs. 4. Before diagnosing root causes, we need to agree on what failure actually means. If we define failure only as missing the original deadline or exceeding the original budget, we miss most of the real failures, and we misclassify some real successes. 5. A project that finishes 6 weeks late but delivers transformative business value is not a failure in any meaningful sense. A project that finishes on time and on budget but builds the wrong thing, or is rejected by its users, or burns out the team so badly that several people leave, is not a success regardless of what the Gantt chart says. True failure occurs when the project does not deliver the expected business value, when stakeholders are dissatisfied, when the team suffers, or when the deliverable sits unused. Broadening the definition of failure forces a more honest assessment of project performance and shifts the conversation from vanity metrics to real impact. 6. Evaluate every project across 4 dimensions: scope and quality, meaning did we build the right thing and did we build it well; time and cost, meaning did we deliver within tolerance of the commitments we made; stakeholder satisfaction, meaning do the people affected consider the project a success; and team health, meaning Did we finish with the same team ready to do more work, or did we burn people out? A project that scores well on all four is a real success. A project that scores poorly on any of them should trigger a serious retrospective. Most failures show weakness on at least two dimensions, and the dimensions are usually connected. 7. Despite better tools, more certifications, and more methodological sophistication, industry failure rates have been stubbornly stable for decades. The reason is that most failures are not caused by exotic, unpredictable events. They are caused by the same handful of fundamentals being skipped or done poorly. Tools and certifications do not help if the underlying discipline is absent. Understanding that failure is a discipline problem, not a tooling problem, is the mindset shift this entire course is built around. 8. Project failure has countless surface symptoms, but those symptoms nearly always trace back to one or more of 5 root causes. We will walk through each in turn, including how to recognize it and what to do about it. 9. The number one cause of project failure is building something that was never clearly defined. Vague requirements lead to assumptions, and assumptions lead to rework. When the business says we need a customer portal without specifying what that means in detail, every team member fills in the blanks differently. The developer builds one thing, the designer envisions another, and the business stakeholder expected something else entirely. The fix is disciplined requirements gathering at the start, followed by formal sign-off and a change control process for anything that evolves. Requirements will change. The issue is not change itself, but the absence of a process to manage it. 10. Concrete practices prevent requirements failure. Conduct structured requirements elicitation with the actual users, not just their managers. Document requirements in testable terms, where each requirement has an acceptance criterion that can be checked against the finished product. Get formal written sign-off on the baseline requirements before execution begins. Establish a lightweight change control process that captures, assesses, and decides on every change request. None of these practices are novel. They are routinely skipped under schedule pressure, and the cost of skipping them arrives in month 4 as silent scope creep. 11. Projects do not exist in isolation. They exist within a web of stakeholders with competing interests, varying levels of influence, and different definitions of success. When project managers fail to identify, analyze, and engage stakeholders deliberately, they get blindsided. A senior director who was never consulted torpedoes the project at the 11th hour. An end-user group that was never included rejects the deliverable. Stakeholder engagement is not a one-time activity at kickoff. It is a continuous discipline that requires regular communication, expectation management, and relationship maintenance throughout the life cycle. 12. The preventive practices are straightforward but demand ongoing discipline. Conduct a thorough stakeholder identification that includes latent influencers, not just the obvious names. Analyze stakeholders across power, interest, and motivation. Build a communication matrix that matches format and frequency to each audience. Default to early transparency, especially with bad news. Invest real time in one-on-one relationships with high-power stakeholders. None of this is glamorous, but the projects that do it consistently avoid the late-stage political collapses that end so many others. 13. Most project teams create a risk register during planning and never look at it again. Risks are identified at a surface level, probability and impact are guessed at, and mitigation plans are vague or non-existent. When risks materialize, and they always do, the team scrambles to react instead of executing a predetermined response. Effective risk management means reviewing risks weekly, updating probability and impact as conditions change, and triggering mitigation actions proactively. The projects that survive are the ones that prepared for risk, not avoided it. 14. A functioning risk practice has 4 habits. First, the risk register is reviewed weekly as part of the project cadence, not filed away after planning. Second, each significant risk has a named owner who is accountable for monitoring it and a specific trigger condition that will initiate the mitigation plan. Third, new risks that emerge during execution are added to the register, not absorbed silently. Fourth, risks that have materialized or been eliminated are moved to a closed risks archive so the active list stays focused. A living risk register with 5 to 10 active risks is worth more than a dusty one with 50. 15. Optimism bias is the project manager's most dangerous enemy. We consistently underestimate how long work will take and how much it will cost, anchoring to the best case scenario because that is what stakeholders want to hear. Then reality arrives and the project is immediately behind schedule and over budget. Fixing this requires honest estimation techniques, historical data from past projects, explicit contingency reserves, and the professional courage to present realistic numbers even when leadership pushes back. 16. Use multiple estimation techniques, not just expert judgment in a vacuum. Analogous estimation from similar past projects. Parametric estimation where unit rates exist. 3-point estimation to capture uncertainty ranges. Always present ranges with confidence levels rather than single-point numbers. Build contingency reserves for known risks and management reserves for unknowns, and show them as separate line items so stakeholders understand they are paying for risk mitigation, not hidden padding. And invest in capturing actuals from past projects so your next estimate has real historical data to anchor on. Teams that treat estimation as a professional discipline rather than a negotiation produce projects that hit their numbers much more often. 17. The final root cause is the one that perpetuates all the others. When projects end, teams are immediately reassigned to the next initiative. Formal closure is skipped. Lessons learned sessions are canceled or superficial. Documentation is incomplete. The result is that every new project starts from scratch, repeating the same mistakes. Proper closure includes documenting what worked and what did not, updating organizational templates and processes, celebrating the team's accomplishments, and archiving project artifacts in a retrievable location. When project closure is always rushed or skipped, the organization loses its ability to improve, and the cycle of failure continues. 18. Build closure into the plan from the start, including calendar time and budget. Run a formal lessons learned session that includes the team, the sponsor, and a selection of affected stakeholders. Produce a short written closure report that names what worked, what did not, and specific recommendations for similar future projects. Store the closure report somewhere future project managers will actually find it, such as a searchable organizational repository. Celebrate the team's work publicly, because the acknowledgement is part of why good people want to do another project with you. A project that closes well is a project that improves the organization. A project that closes badly is a project that only improved one deliverable. 19. Even with strong fundamentals, projects occasionally drift toward failure. The project manager's most valuable judgment is recognizing the drift early, intervening decisively, and in rare cases having the integrity to recommend a shutdown. 20. Project failure rarely arrives without warning. Watch for these signals. Status reports that are consistently optimistic despite visible problems. Stakeholders who stop attending meetings. Team members who go silent or avoid eye contact in working sessions. Requirements that keep changing without formal change control. Risk registers that have not been updated in weeks. Rising defect rates. Slipping incremental deliverables. Any one of these is a yellow flag. Two or more together is a red flag that demands immediate attention. 21. When warning signs appear, the correct response is a direct, honest conversation with the team and the sponsor, not a more upbeat status report. Diagnose the root cause, which usually maps to one of the 5 we have covered. Agree on a specific corrective action with a named owner and a specific date. Escalate openly if the intervention requires decisions above your authority. Project managers who escalate early with data are respected. Project managers who try to manage around the problem in silence and then surface it later are not. 22. Occasionally, the right answer is to stop the project. If the business case no longer supports the investment, or if the project has deviated so far from its original intent that success is no longer meaningful, a controlled shutdown is better than throwing good money after bad. Recommending shutdown is one of the hardest professional moves a project manager makes, and it is one of the most valuable. Do it deliberately, with data and with stakeholder input. Document the reasoning clearly. The courage to recommend a shutdown when it is justified is a marker of senior professional judgment, and the organizations that reward it are the ones that avoid the largest failures. 23. Evaluate your active projects against the 5 root causes. For each project, ask the 5 diagnostic questions. Are requirements documented and stable? Are stakeholders engaged and aligned? Is the risk register current and actively managed? Were estimates based on data or optimism? Is there a closure plan? Where you find gaps, you have found the places where failure is most likely to enter. Address them now while the cost of correction is low. 24. You now define failure honestly across 4 dimensions: scope and quality, time and cost, stakeholder satisfaction, and team health, rather than relying on schedule and budget alone. You can recognize and diagnose the 5 recurring root causes of project failure: unclear requirements, poor stakeholder engagement, inadequate risk management, unrealistic estimates, and skipped closure. You have specific preventive practices for each, rooted in discipline rather than tools. You can recognize the warning signs of approaching failure, intervene decisively, and, if necessary, recommend a controlled shutdown with the professional judgment that the best senior project managers bring to the role. Your next step is to evaluate your current portfolio against the 5 root causes this week and identify one preventive action for your most at-risk project. 25. To claim your 2 professional development units, log into your PMI dashboard at the Continuing Certification Requirements System, which is abbreviated CCRS. Select Report Professional Development Units. Choose the category labeled Online or Digital Media. Enter the course title exactly as shown on your certificate, which is Why Projects Fail: 5 Root Causes Every PM Should Know. Enter the date you completed the course. Enter the provider name as Self-Made PM. Enter the professional development unit value of 2 allocated to the business acumen area of the talent triangle. Retain your certificate of completion in case of an audit. Self-Made PM is not a Project Management Institute authorized training partner, and professional development units on this platform are self-reported. Thank you for spending these 2 hours with me. I will see you in the next course. Thank you for completing this course. If the ideas in this session spark something for you, the next step is the book. The Project Brain, Evolving Project Managers is available now on Amazon and goes far beyond what we could cover in this session. It contains the complete system for building, maintaining, and scaling an artificial intelligence-powered project management office, the full janitor protocol with templates, deeper stakeholder simulation patterns, and real-world case studies from practitioners who have saved 10 to 15 hours per week using these methods. You can find more free courses, tools, and articles at selfmadepm.com. Again, thank you for your time, and remember to log your professional development units. I will see you in the next course.